Welcome to another episode of Winning for Life. And today I'd like to share some more stories where step by step, a glimpse by glimpse, got more what is life and what is happening there. I shared a lot of things already from my insights when I went to school and university. And then one day I got my certificate and I became a lawyer. But before that, between university and being a lawyer, it was, I studied in Berlin, and it was 2-year period. You need to go to different sections of what can you do with law. So I needed to work at court, at a lawyer, in administration, everywhere where they practice somehow law, to get insights in different ways of working as someone who studied law. But this was all more kind of government dictated. So it was not about going in the industry, economy. Just only the lawyer was a kind of private guy we went through. So winning for life, experiencing winning for life, is first of all understanding life. What is life really? Because just winning, win-lose, is this really life? Today we talk also what is fundamental here. Is this a space-time continuum, or it is more consciousness? The more we understand awareness, consciousness, we see different things. Like I used to say when I was 5 and played in the sandpit, my understanding of life was playing there, going home and get food, and all what I could oversee was the garden, maybe a little bit the other side of the street, and what just happened in our apartment. But today I know, there are more streets in town, and if you like to become a mayor of a town, you need to have really the time and space awareness of the whole town, and even more the next town, and in the time period, not just your election period or this year. No, what will happen, what we plan longer. But as a student or just finished the university, getting this kind of law degree there, and now the 2 years, the practical part we needed to do in Germany. The focus was not really on the whole world. The focus was on station for station. But all these stations gave me extremely insights how people tick, and with that, how the world is ticking and what is life. Like I mentioned, the experience at Siemens, where they tracked the time the workers were there and you needed to make your stamp, realizing it doesn't make any sense if they can be already showered, standing there and waiting, when is the time over to stamp? What an illusion, getting out of those stamps, the idea how much time, or with what kind of energy, with what kind of intention people worked. You could see it, but often we see and don't see. So some stories from my life at the time being at court. or in this time between university and getting the final examen, to really be someone who is allowed to be a lawyer or judge, so on. In this period, you're not only capable of choosing something, they decide also where you go. And you can show some parts, but some you have to do. So I was sent to a court for 6 months, and as a kind of higher court, not the entrance court, higher court, and there were 3 professional judges. And it is a little bit different than in the English or American way, where there's one judge and then there's a jury. The Germans are different there. There was professional judges. There are partly also, depending what the topic is, also having some kind of people who didn't study but were allowed 1 or 2 to sit there and decide as well. And then were those like me who were kind of in an education process sitting there as well next to the judges, because we should learn. So my first experience was how it worked. So you have the room where the judges meet, and then you know which cases today. And one of the 3 was responsible to prepare. Not everybody dives into it, so everybody has a different case to prepare. And so one shares what he prepared and what his opinion is. And then they go into the session. So then the lawyers come and say, the parties, and say, and then it goes back and forth. And then in the end, the chief judge says, okay, now thank you for today. We go back and then we will discuss, and later at that point, we then announce a decision, or a sentence, whatever. So, and I experienced, then we go back. The 3 judges talked about that case, and they all agreed on what they think is right, and says, okay, the sentence will be like this. And as I was there the first time there, I couldn't follow that fast. What was the guy preparing, teaching, what really happened then in court, and then they discuss it, and then they have the conclusion. And I couldn't get really where comes the decision from. I experienced it all. I watched it and listened to it, but I couldn't understand why they come from this to this to this to this, and that's the decision. So just to understand, I asked him, this was a case, and how do you look at this? Why you question that? And this, and how you interpret that, or what is it, what makes you come to this conclusion? So I just was curious and wanted to know. And I was asking and asking and asking, and because it was the first time, they were polite enough, or maybe egoistic enough to explain, the young kid, that's how it works. But something interesting happened. I questioned, and I questioned, and I got them to think about a new question they didn't have in mind. Because it's like kids can ask, it's a simple thing, what I experienced, a kid asked, why is it called toilet paper and not ass paper? Okay, interesting question. And we start thinking different. So I asked a lot of questions, and guess what? All these 3 professional judges, changed their mind and decided totally different. This was one of my profoundest experience in life, not just at court, but in life, that people decide from their paradigms, what people tell them, and it's so much depending on the questions we ask to go deeper in our feelings, what did we really want, to contemplate different, and come maybe then to totally different results. This ended in the end also in my book, The Millionaire Spirit, when I talk there or wrote there about questions. What is the question? Should I smoke Marlboro or Camel? If you have a question like this, what would you answer? Oh, I need to know what is Camel. I need to know what's Marlboro. If it's this, where can I buy it, the colors and what's in it and everything. Easy to get, the price, all those. If you have a different question, should I smoke? You don't need to really think about Marlboro and Camel. You think, what is smoke? What is in the smoke? Is it nicotine, tar, or whatever? And how is it for a body? Interesting. Then you collect this information to answer this question. But if you ask, what is the best for my health? Do we need to know Marlboro or Camel? No. Do we need to think really so much about smoking and dive into what smoke is doing? No. You dive in something totally different. What is the best for that? Like I do today, when I have to make decisions, not really focusing on the 3D level always, what is in my highest interest? What is my purpose? What is the purpose of this? What is the best way to get it? Always is totally different questions. And this is what I realized there. It was the lawyers, it was the parties of both sides, and the judges. They all were in a kind of bubble and decided the case, what they saw. But it was not about so much what is the best result for justice or whatever. They were just focusing, is this person right or that person right? Simple things. I don't want to say that it's always wrong to look at the case. And it's more about my experience. Wow. If you ask something what they never think about, they can change their mind. Somehow, like Steve Jobs said it, if you're really aware that all what you see out there, what is man-made, and that is houses and laws, everything can be changed by man, by you. And that was also a powerful experience for myself, and then somehow shocked, and I couldn't handle it directly. Whoa, professional judges. I'm just studying, and when I came to court, I felt a little bit small. Courts are built like this. That's why the judges are sitting higher, and then they have the dress and everything, and to impress the people. Yes, Solomon the king was always on his throne, and then he decided what should happen in the country. So most courts are made creating a little bit fear. So at least I was new and was depending what they say, what kind of grades I will get from them to move on to get the final exam. And so they had kind of power over me. And now here, I'm just asking questions. And these powerful people change totally their mind. Wow. This is something what I really can in my life, and somehow today I'm living on, because my coaching, my consulting is mainly having better questions for my clients. Not as I said I'm a better in question, but I can question things which are not in their bubble, not in their subconscious. So really question and helping them to come to better solution. In this way, better questions. Because coaching and consulting, or let's say coaching, is just about questioning that the client thinks, reflects, because the answer is in him. I'm not supposed to give an answer and put something on him. So that started at court. And then I spent 3 months at a so-called family court. But before we go into this, just let's have a break. So, back to the family court. 3 months. Luckily, I had vacation in that time, so I didn't need to sit there 3 months. In most cases was about divorce. And just imagine, it's years ago. It's 40 years ago. At that time, especially in the German law, it was, if someone wanted a divorce, is more about who was guilty of what, who needs to pay for what. And if there were kids involved, young kids, if the man was guilty, the woman could keep the kid. And if there was a kid, maybe she didn't need to work at that time. And the man just had to pay and pay and pay. So what was the result of it? That the two people, ideally once was totally in love, were fighting. And often really you saw the blood, and there was films done also in Hollywood. Wow, Rosenkrieg, and how people can fight, and not only win-lose, they can play lose-lose. If you don't get it, nobody should get it, and everything. Crazy how they kill somehow themselves. And there I saw what dirty laundry was and so on, and what made up, and little kids in between. There was not winning for life. It was just winning to punish the other one, or that I don't need to work, that I get more money. And who cared about the programming, the pain of the kid? Often nobody. Like the old story from the Bible with Solomon, the 2 mothers were fighting about a kid. And when Solomon said, okay, moms, tear the kid apart, and who wins, get the kid. And then the one said, no, I don't do this. And he said, okay, that must be the real mom. Really caring about the kid. But at court, I saw the opposite. And partly, okay, it was, the law was like that, and it changed a lot today. We are not in these dirty games anymore, but still can be about money, who gets what. But it's less on the back of the kids. But I could see there and learn, okay, he was family, but where do we do this? It can be in companies as well. There are departments fighting each other and not thinking of the best for the customer or for the company itself. You see political parties fighting each other and don't really focusing what is best for the people in the country. So suddenly, I was more and more aware they were fighting of each other. They play the win-lose game, and it was not winning for life. That life in general will be better. Okay, you see that, and you see the pattern, and you see it suddenly all over the globe, and you see it, how stupid it is somehow, and how crazy it is, that even then the kids in stress, and sometimes they were asked, where do you want to live in the future, with mom or with dad? Or there can be a pressure to do this. The kid might escape because of pain, just to say, yeah, there, because others give them more pain. But also, gosh, if I decide that against one of my parents, what guilt I put on myself. Oh, we created a lot of trauma because of the system we created, and that we were not really winning for life. And I was sitting there because I had the dream to become a lawyer. And then you see, oh God, what the lawyers are doing. They play the game as well. They throw the dirty laundry. They support the clients in that. They ignored the health of the kid as well. They played a dirty game. And now I was sitting there, little Wolfgang wanted to do something more for justice, and seeing that. It was tough. And as I said, luckily, I had there only to be 3 months, and the 3 months I guess was 3-4 weeks vacation I could make. So it was a short period I needed to live there, because it was extremely painful because of my childhood and seeing that, and this helplessness. You can't do it. The law is like this. The system is like this. The judge needed to play the game. The good part in all what I learned is there, then when we were back with the judge, and he could share his pain and how he felt limited. So I couldn't connect with him on a level that was a little bit healing for my soul. And seeing even someone with good intentions, because of the system, because of the law, can't do anything. Because if he would make crazy decisions what not fits with the law, it just goes to the next court, and he will not really solve something. So he only could try to do his best to somehow limit the extreme, limit the pain, but he needed to go with the law. And this showed me there are people, if it's politicians or somewhere, they stay in a game which they don't really like, just to make it somehow better for some people there. Wow. Before, I was blaming them because I was not feeling them. Like when I was young, and yes, I drove drunk, but when I was young and there was police and I was speeding or doing other stupid stuff, so the police was my enemy. And it took me a while to understand that there are a lot of people risking their health, risking their life to protect people. I couldn't see this in the beginning. So winning for life means also getting a broader awareness, see the whole picture ideally. So there are police, yeah, which can do it. But like also in Corona, when we saw how brutal police could be, and as a German, boo, I was really wondering what happened in the time with Hitler, how fast he can change people. But we know there were studies done in university, and in Corona we saw it, how fast people can change and suppress other people. But if we understand we all have this so-called reptilian brain, for thousands of years we lived with slave. We were suppressing, we were murdering, we were misusing power for thousands of years. And it's somehow all in us. And how tough it is to really stick with your values, stick with higher intentions, with your highest good. Well, I got a glimpse of there, saw this, but don't believe that I was already really getting it in the sense of I can live it. I love the sentence from Jim Rohn when he was talking and someone asked him, and how do you apply this all? And he says, listen carefully. All what I say is true, but don't watch too close. But it's important. We know we are programmed, and we are programmed maybe through energetic fields from the ancestors and to really clean us, to be really, really clean and free from all traumas and whatever other people's system genetic memories, what's not really totally possible. But be aware what we are doing and what is my highest value. Whoa, that is a tough part. But it's about winning for life, and when I got more awareness, I saw this. So I felt the helplessness, and then I had also other things which were very crazy. If we go back to the three main judges, where I started, there were three professional judges at the so-called Landgericht, this is the higher court. At the time I was there, no handyman, no worker, carpenter, whatever, and could win. Because at that time, the leading judge of the three, one is always a leader, the boss, he was just building his house, and he had so much stress with the workers. And he, as a human, only saw the stress. At that time, nobody from that profession could win the case. Was it right? Did he make mistakes? I don't know. I don't remember. But what I saw, he was in a paradigm shift, and that there was nearly no chance to win. Or you needed to do so much more effort if you wanted to have a chance to win. And that's why we say, on the ocean, in the middle of the ocean, or in court, you're in God's hand. There is no linear thinking. There's always room for interpretation. And I will share another story which made me aware that also judges, even if they want to do their best, just living with paradigms and just their level of awareness. But before we come to that, just have another break. So the story I like to share now is, and like I said before, the judges meet before they start and they're talking, and one presented the case and they talk it through. And here was a case. So someone, a pharmacist, ordered a kind of newsletter for stock market. So how to invest in what, or pick the right stock. So I signed up for 3 years for such newsletter information. And after a year, the pharmacist decided, no, I don't want to have that longer, and I don't want to pay the next 2 years. So I stopped paying, because I don't want it anymore. You don't need to send it anymore. But they made a contract for 3 years. And so was a question. Then the publisher of this letter went to court and sued the pharmacist for the responsibility to pay the next 2 years. So the judge who prepared it explained it and had the feeling, nah, well, there's nothing really dangerous, and then don't lose something, just not sending the letters anymore. At that time it was just normal mail. We didn't have the emails then. So all agreed, okay, the pharmacist is right, doesn't need to pay the 2 years. It was the idea when we all went in the courtroom. And then the door opened and the pharmacist came in, and it was a very tiny, sweet little lady. Very tiny, a Bambi. And the judges look to each other and says, yes, we need to protect this. Yeah, we are right. Our decision is right. So the lawyers were talking and back and forth, and because it was, for the judges it was clear, it was more formal, and just in the end, everything was clear for the judges. The judge who was leading the session, just from that deep from the heart, I didn't say these words, but this feeling, oh, little girl, why did you order such a newsletter about stock markets? How much sales do you do a year? It was just caring, and so protective in this question, and so, oh kid, why are you doing this? And then the little pharmacist says, 1 million? What? And you could see the shock going through the 3 judges, and she lost the case. They said, suddenly, 100%, 180 degrees different, she needs to pay. Why? Because she just said a word, 1 million. And what does it mean that you have sales in 1 million? It doesn't say anything that you make 1 million. You have costs, you have employees. So what is net left? Nobody asked for that. So we just saw, boom, this little makes 1 million, and we change our mind. And it was, again, really, really interesting to see on which level of awareness they are. And the emotional level, we are judges, and here is a millionaire. Wow. And all the education in books and even TV shows in Germany, the entrepreneurs are the bad guys. And look, governments, politicians, we see it today also, the entrepreneurs are the bad guys. And I saw it there. And this was not about the fairness of the million, it was just an emotional million, which led also to my book, Millionaire Spirit, to making people aware that is mostly the emotion and not the true value of what is it today. You can't live today on the million anymore. But most people have this feeling, and that's why there's a successful Joe who becomes a millionaire. And it's in different currencies, not always the value similar in all these countries to $1 million or €1 million or £1 million. Totally different. So another lesson for life, for my life, for life in general, that we are judging out of our awareness level. I wouldn't say conscious level, awareness. They were not conscious enough to see how they're limited by their awareness. And I experienced myself because I needed very early to work and make my money what I wanted to have to buy stuff for me. And my little sister went to a bank as apprentice, and I worked at the bank. And when I became a student, I had the chance to buy a Porsche 924. Though at that time it was, I wasn't a 911 Porsche, it was something different. But it was a nice car, and it was a Porsche. And because my sister worked there, I got the loan, could buy the Porsche. So I was driving with my Porsche to court. And I knew already it's a little bit better not to park directly in front of the court house, so park in the side street. But one day it happened that mentioned or asked me what kind of car I have, and I didn't want to lie, so I shared, I'm driving this car. And what did the main judge say? Oh, he has rich parents. That was the only thing he could think. It's not in their minds that the student works to get it or takes the risk of a loan to get it. Must be rich parents. And I saw a lot of those things at court, to really be aware and then realizing also in their level of awareness, they're, in best case, working and judging for the system they grew up. And like now we learned it all in a so-called financial crisis, we need to rescue banks because they're relevant for the system. And we had it within the so-called pandemic corona. It was protecting the system because we had the crazy idea, or some politicians had the crazy idea. Today we know that it was all a lie and really a pandemic. To say, oh, we have not enough beds on the emergency stations, intensive care stations, so we need to shut the whole country down. First of all, crazy, but we made a little step further from the finance crisis, where all it was about banks and companies or insurance companies which are relevant for the system. In Corona, we opened it up a little bit for professions, for which is relevant for the system. But it was never about human beings. It was never what is relevant for life. And we see the misuse and the lying in the financial crisis. If you're in the UK, we saw the lying of Brexit and everything. And today is just elections in Germany again. All those who were lying with Corona and were really going, we were very close for really forcing people to get a vaccination. And that it's so necessary and so necessary. But today, oh, we forgot about, we did all right. And we had a saying in Germany, if you lie 3 times, then we don't believe you anymore. And it's interesting. Politicians can lie, you know that they lie, but you elect them. Those who lied about before the breakfast voting, say, okay, now we know they were lying, and then we elect them, become prime minister. It is really crazy what the slaves are doing, and they're feeling like a victim. We still, of thousands of years, we lived a slave life. Like, just listen to a podcast from Lex Friedman with a professor who talked about how was life in old Rome. And yeah, nearly most people were slaves at that time. Not just what we see as an African slave by ship to America. But we live in a society still where we have slaves. The way politicians think, the way bankers think about those who should make them rich, about company leaders who say, oh, you work for us, for the shareholders. We have some way to go to really work for life. And understanding is as good for life, is as best for humanity, for the idea of being winspired. Winspiration for us means be in spirit, be connected with spirit, live with inspiration, intuition from the higher self, but win, because win-win is only possible when both want to win. So the underdog is also responsible that someone wants to beat him. It's up to us, but it's more for all of us who can see it and create a system that not too early we create directly the underdogs. They have no choice. And that's why today I know the system is so much more responsible than just the individual. The collective subconscious decides so much. All what is in our systems over thousands of years is so present for what we can live. But I hope with the little stories I could share, open your eyes and see. Every day you see those situations. Wake up. Be inspired. Wake up and start winning for life.